On a late autumn afternoon, a gentle, cool breeze blew across the village. As usual, the children gathered and played outside. Since I lived in the countryside, the roads were still dusty red dirt, covered in fine sand, the perfect playground for us every day. There weren't many motorbikes around here, so it felt like the whole road belonged to us kids. The three of us went from house to house, calling each other out to play soccer, marbles, hide and seek. After our usual fun, we would often head to the beach for a swim. One Friday afternoon, since the weekend was coming and winter was near, the seawater had turned colder. After playing, we decided to head to Teo's house for some drinks and fruit. While we were sitting around chatting, we saw Hung approach and asked Teo's sister about some kind of spirit-calling incantation. I didn't really catch what they were saying, but my curiosity kicked in, so I stayed silent and listened closely. After placing the fruit on the altar, Thao came over and told Hung, "The incantation is really long. You won't remember it. Get some paper and I'll write it down." "I don't have any paper. Just say it slowly, I'll remember," Hung replied. After repeating the chant 3 times, she gave up and said, "Ugh, forget it. Where are you guys planning to do this tonight? I'll just go and chant it for you." The moment we heard that, all 5 of us kids lit up with excitement. Even though we didn't understand what they were talking about, we had a strong feeling it was going to be something cool. We begged Tao to let us tag along. "No way! You're just kids. You're not going anywhere. Stay home," Thao said firmly. "Please let us go. We'll just sit and watch. We won't do anything," Teo tried to convince her on our behalf. I said no. "If I see you there, I'll tell your mom," she warned us. So the mood dropped, and we all trudged back to our homes. As soon as I got home, I overheard someone nearby saying, "Spirit calling." I looked around and saw my 2 older brothers planning to go with Hung from the next neighborhood to play Ko Ke, a Vietnamese Ouija-like game. I ran up to them immediately and begged to join. They agreed. Without even bathing, I dashed outside and ran to each of the other 4 boys in our group to tell them the good news. We were going to play Ko Ke after all. At that time, we were only 7 or 8 years old. Anything that meant fun or adventure thrilled us to no end. I quickly showered, ate dinner super early, and felt like I was getting ready for a vacation. I was bursting with excitement, not just because I'd be hanging out with the older kids, which was the best thing ever for us, but also because this game had something to do with ghosts, which made me extremely curious. That night I saw my brother preparing a round porcelain plate, a heart-shaped piece cut from the Ace of Hearts card, and some other tools that others were in charge of bringing. I only saw everything once we got there. At 7 p.m., after everyone at home had finished dinner, even though I already ate, I waited patiently for my brothers. Then the 3 of us, along with Hung, went from house to gather the rest of the group. Everyone had their assigned task. Everything felt so well organized when we were with the older kids. We absolutely loved it. Our group had more than 10 people, both kids and teens. We headed to the back of my uncle's house, where he kept his pigs. The older kids chose that spot because they said it was filled with wandering spirits. We all sat down and laid out the equipment: flashlights, candles, lighters, oil lamps, the porcelain plate, and a large A0 sheet of paper with the alphabet, numbers, and some special characters for communicating with spirits. Suddenly, the atmosphere turned chilling. The night was pitch black. Wind howled through the wooden cracks and the leaves. Dogs barked in the distance, and only 2 dim oil lamps lit the scene. Everything became eerily quiet and serious. Before we began, Thal gave us strict instructions not to joke around, curse, or say anything offensive that might anger the spirits, and not to scare each other. She was clearly experienced and made sure to warn us, especially the kids, to avoid serious consequences. She placed the fruit on the altar, lit 3 incense sticks, and we all gathered around the bottom half of the spirit board. She held the incense and whispered a prayer. I tried to listen, but even though it was quiet, I couldn't make out the words, just her lips moving. After finishing the prayer, she stuck the incense in the fruit bowl and invited 3 people to place their fingers on the plate. The plate was the one my brother had prepared earlier. The heart-shaped card was glued to the underside, pointing like an arrow to the letters. The plate lay upside down at the bottom of the board. There had to be both male and female participants for the plate to move properly. We kids were too scared to touch it, so Thao decided to stay and guide us through the first session. Thao, Quen, and my brother were the first to place their index fingers on the plate. "May I ask your name?" Thao said. Suddenly, the plate moved. Everyone jumped, and goosebumps spread all over. It glided across the letters on the board, spelling N-I-N-H. Thao continued asking questions. The spirit had died at 54. She asked how he passed away. The plate moved, letter by letter, slowly spelling out the answers. No one made a sound. The only thing we could hear was the soft scraping of the plate. One strange sound could have made someone faint from fear, which is why Thao had emphasized we had to be respectful while a spirit was present. After gathering the basic information, Thao ended the session and extinguished the incense. Everyone looked shaken. Some were panicked, others silent. Some hid behind the older kids, and some were simply curious if it was all real. Thoughts raced through our heads. Thao calmly explained that most of the spirits there died in the war, many at a young age. Some were gentle, others strict. Talking to them required utmost respect. There had been many stories of people getting possessed while playing Kauka, so we had to be careful. If a spirit got angry, it might follow someone home. "Who still doesn't believe?" Thou asked. "Next round, I'll let you place your hand on the plate yourself." Although Quen had already participated, he still didn't believe. He thought Thao was secretly moving the plate, so he joined again with 2 other first-timers. Thao lit 3 new incense sticks, set out fresh fruit, and summoned another spirit. This one was younger, only 24, but had died long ago, so we still addressed them as Sir or Madam. This session went smoothly. People relaxed, conversations grew louder, and laughter returned. But that was when the strange things started happening. As the 3rd spirit arrived, Thao began teaching us how to play on our own. She chanted the spell louder so we could memorize it. After the setup was renewed, the plate moved again, this time to N, then Then the tilde, kilda. In Vietnamese, that spells nu, female. It seemed like this spirit wanted to talk to us first, which surprised everyone. Quen, growing bolder, started joking around with the spirit. He laughed and called the spirit a liar, acting like they were old buddies. Thou scolded him. Stop messing around. These spirits are much older than us. Be respectful, or I won't let you play anymore. To test the spirit, we asked who was approaching us from the house. The plate immediately spelled L.E. That was my uncle's name, 100% correct. He hadn't reached us yet, but we could see it was him. Our belief in the game grew stronger. Despite the tension, Quen kept joking. Suddenly, a strong gust of wind blew out one of the oil lamps. The wind grew fiercer. Trees rustled. Dogs barked. Fear gripped us. Before we could react, 2 people bolted. Then came the scariest moment. Quen stood straight up, eyes rolled back, arms stiff and fingers curled unnaturally. Some thought he was joking, but he started speaking gibberish. You think I'm a joke? Go home. What do you want? Tao rushed to hold him and chant the spell. The second lamp blew out. Total darkness swallowed us. Just then, Uncle L.E. arrived, using his lighter to light the way. At the sight of the flame, everyone scattered. Someone grabbed my hand and we ran toward the street, where we could see faint lights from nearby houses. Terrified, we rushed into Hoon's house and hid there, not daring to tell anyone what had just happened. The next morning, we heard the rest of the story. Tao and my uncle managed to restrain Quen in a chair. He kept muttering nonsense and couldn't control his limbs. Tao quickly prepared new offerings, while Uncle L.E. sent someone to fetch a shaman. Eventually, the spirit left Quen. Peace returned, but it was a terrifying night. By the time the shaman arrived, it was all over. Everyone went home in silence. This story is completely true. The names have been changed and some details have been added for continuity, but I remember it vividly, and even now I wouldn't dare play Ouija again.